Is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. We're going to be unlocking the vault on Saturday. We're going to try to unlock the solutions to your employee burnout situation here with Marty Strong, who's a combat decorated Navy SEAL. But this is completely different from that, or how much different is it? We'll find out from Marty here this morning. Our conversation brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. So the Great Resignation is what they term it, and it's been going on since the pandemic began, and it doesn't show signs of slowing up. Now there are added pressures because inflation is rearing its ugly head, and now companies are trying to find ways to balance off employees, the number of employees they can have and the amount of work that needs to be done, and it's leading to some really serious situations for employees. Marty, good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's good to have you with us here today. You're in Virginia Beach, huh?
Yeah.
What's it like there?
It's overcast and muggy.
Oh, that a boy. I hear you got an ocean there, though, so it's okay.
We do, yeah. It's not too far from where I'm standing right now.
There you go. There you go. Hey, this is a serious situation. Employees are being asked to do more and more and more, and employers are finding themselves increasingly the victims of, really of their own doing in some way, but the pandemic is certainly a part of it as well. And employee burnout is leading to what is called the Great Resignation. It's a real thing, isn't it?
It is, and like most trends, once we get a few years between the now and looking back on this, you're going to see probably the convergence of three things. One is technology and the creation of the gig economy, because a lot of people in a lot of different industries ended up going out as solo consultants and solo technical people, working from home, having all that kind of autonomy and freedom well before the pandemic, all enabled by technology. So that was already kind of happening. You already had cloud-based systems allowing people to work from home in a lot of different categories, finance, et cetera. And then the pandemic hit. So with the pandemic, you basically push everybody home, and those that weren't already in the gig economy start to see the benefits of it. And so a lot of them don't want to come back. And you kind of have that seesaw effect of, you must come back to work, everything's okay now, and no, wait a minute, don't come back to it. I think Amazon did that like 2 or 3 times. And everybody's watching these big companies because of the liability. And they said, well, let's order everybody back. Wait, Amazon and Apple just decided not to do that. Tell everybody to stay home. Eventually, people just decided to adopt their own work style.
Yeah. This is, we tend to look at things like this from the business standpoint, but is it not also a mental health issue?
Sure it is. And, I write about leadership a lot because I think leadership is the missing component in most of these companies. If I make a distinction between management and leadership. Management's managing things and people and processes and systems that are working, and then tweaking them if they're just a little bit out of order. Leadership is when everything's falling apart. That's stepping up and reinventing and reimagining a solution to deal with whatever the changes, whatever the dynamic impact is from something like a pandemic. So a leader should be stepping up and looking at the organization internally, looking at the external effects, whether it's the pandemic or an aggressive competitor or the national economy, as you mentioned, with the recession. And they need to be flexible. They need to be nimble. They need to sit back and think, how do I need to reconstruct, redesign, and then refocus? And most of them don't do that. Most of them just double down on what they've been doing in the past.
Mm. Do we need to, therefore, have some sort of a business burnout prevention plan?
Well, the best burnout prevention plan, it starts with your physical health. Your physical health has a lot to do with your mental state of mind. So if you're not eating well, you're not doing some kind of exercise, even if it's just walking, if you're not taking breaks away from the computer, away from your Zoom meetings, if you're doing just nothing but the drudgery of work, and your body's failing, you start to have a kind of a cascading effect on your mental attitude, maybe more than just your attitude. The employers, the business owners, the managers, the leaders, they're in the same boat. And so if everybody's getting fatigued and everybody's getting worn down, they start making bad decisions, or they just kind of cocoon up and don't make any decisions and just hope it gets better someday. And those are both bad ways to do that.
Well, finding that physical, mental, not only balance, but the way that the physical can help the mental. I would think that with your background as a Navy SEAL, that you have a few suggestions that might help companies.
Sure. I mean, there's this whole push of wellness and all that, but you can actually, have a benefit where whether you're working remotely in another state or whatever, you can tap into local workout centers. You can go get a massage. You can go get all kinds of physical therapy, whatever it is that you need. That there's something in the benefits package that allows you to take advantage of that. It's got to be a company culture that expects you to do that. Because one way of looking at it is if you did the job description correctly and their work-life balance is structured really appropriately, and you do all these things on the health side to help them out, and they're still not doing it, they're still not taking advantage of these things, well, then they're probably not a good fit for your culture. But if they are taking advantage of all that, then you're helping them to reduce the stress, to kind of change the rat race component of working all the time under a technology, enabling kind of technology capability. And they'll be happier for it, and they'll see that you care and that you're focused on their not just their productivity, but also on their happiness.
I saw a report that said that employees these days are more interested in making more money than they are in having more time off, which I find kind of hard to believe. I think if you keep the money about the same and you give them some time off, that might be somewhere along the road to a solution. When we think about one of the trends in business right now being to work 4 10s or even 4 8s and worry more about production than time spent on the job, does that become a part of the solution?
It can alleviate some of it. I think everybody now has this opportunity on both ends of the spectrum, whether you're an employee or your employer. You have this chance to reset the paradigm, to rethink the engagement, to allow people to work within the framework of their lives. And as long as they can do that, I mean, knowledge workers it's much easier to do. If you're an OR nurse, you can't really do that from your living room. So that's why there's such a burnout factor in all of healthcare in the United States, because COVID overstressed. Every year with the flu season, it would happen and then it would go away. So it was only there for about 2.5 months. Well, we had sustained now 28 months, and healthcare workers just said, I'm not coming back. So.
Yeah. And some of those businesses, the business we're in, as a matter of fact, just demand that you be there for the entire time. The entire shift has to be covered. And so you do that, and you're put in that position of having to find other ways to reduce the stresses that are leading to all of this burnout. How long do you think the Great Resignation goes on until we begin to find the proper solutions?
I think it's like I said, I think it's the opportunity, and it will be seized on by both employers, business owners, and by technical and talented people. And we're not going back to the way it used to be. We're not going to go back to 80-90% of people are sitting in cubicles. Mm-hmm. And that's already happened. If you look at the commercial real estate market and look at business office space, my organization's gone from 21,000 square feet pre-pandemic down to 6,500.
Yeah.
All the law firms I know have done that. Most of the accounting firms I know have done that. So they're actually structurally changing the business. And I think we're going to end up with something that's kind of a 60-40 mix, where 60% of the population is not going into an office and then they're working from home. And 40% of the population has to go into the office because the office is like a restaurant or a doctor's office or something where you have to have direct contact.
Yeah. Marty Strong is our guest. He's a Navy SEAL, combat decorated, who is now a leader in commercial business strategies. Marty, what are some of the resources out there for businesses to find that might help them find a solution to the problems that they have?
Well, I think if you look at books, if you're a business leader, business owner, top management, look at books about business strategy. Kind of reacquaint yourself with the point of strategy. The point of strategy is to determine exactly where you're heading, why, and then once you've done that, the other part of this is to communicate that to the entire structure of your organization so that everybody knows the purpose behind their work, the purpose behind their level of effort. John F. Kennedy in the early 60s said, real simple sentence. He said, I want to put a man on the moon at the end of this century. Excuse me, at the end of this decade.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, so when NASA was created to do that, there wasn't anybody in NASA that was confused about why they were there for 10 years. It was to put a man on the moon, period, the end. That's why they spent every penny. That's why they hired everybody who came in there. Every time a rocket blew up, that's why we were doing it. We're going to put a sense of purpose based on a really well-thought-out strategy really kind of aligns and makes coherent all the rest of these things we've been talking about.
Yeah. Marty, where are we going to learn more about you and what you do?
You can go to martystrongbenimble.com. That's where all my books are and my articles. That would be the best place.
martystrongbenimble.com?
Correct.
Beautiful. Hey, have a great day today.
All right, you too. Thanks.
Bye now.
Thanks.
Bye now.